Fords have. How did that influence the way you raced the Toyotas at these racetracks? And then now knowing that, okay, we've got a good car count here, how does that help, whether that's, racing on offense or racing on defense, the lead pack?
Yeah, I didn't feel like ever when we were racing, the Toyotas when I was, Ford, it was really any different. You just knew that when they got together, they were probably going to stick together a little more religiously than the other manufacturers because they had to because of their numbers. But yeah, I didn't feel like, you definitely didn't race them any different. You just kind of knew that in the back of your mind. Like if one Toyota made a move, they're probably, all 4 or 5 of them were going to probably do it together. From a strategy standpoint, I think probably for the crew chiefs it was a little bit more just because they could kind of do more because they had less people. But yeah, I don't know, honestly. I think it's going to be the same from my standpoint, but definitely the characters are different, right? Like, how, Denny races plate races is going to be different than how Joey Logano does it. So, like, just learning their tendencies is going to be a little bit different. But, honestly, I want to say it was Talladega last year, the year before, I got kind of spit out of the Ford pack and had to pit with the Toyotas and ran like 60 laps with them, just the Toyotas. So I feel like I have a little bit of an understanding. So it's nice to at least have that experience for sure going into this week.
Kyle Larson described Christopher Bell as giddy once he got back in the sprint car, that he's just like on cloud 9. Have you noticed that with Bell?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely could see Bell being like a kind of like a vintage Tony, like when Tony could go and do the things he wanted. And even Kyle, if you look at Kyle when he wasn't able to go do stuff, was a totally different Kyle Larson when he can run 100 races a year. So I definitely think you'll see that with Bell. And I'm a firm believer. Like when I go race the sprint car, I know for a fact it makes me better on the Cup weekends. So, Bell was already really, really good. It's just going to make him even better. So, yeah, I think it'll be really, really good for Christopher. And even Tony always would talk about it. For him, if he went and ran a sprint car on Saturday night and it went really, really well, you just carry that confidence into Sunday. But also if, the Cup car or something isn't handling how you want it to, or you're kind of off on Saturday for practice, or even, on Sunday, and, you leave the racetrack, you're mad, whatever, you go sprint car race on Sunday night or Monday, and you kind of just forget about it. So I think it'll be really good for Christopher to kind of have that balance, for sure. I think it's just going to make him even scarier this year.
Is it good to have somebody like that to measure yourself by?
Yeah, I think so. I think, Christopher, honestly, is probably the guy I've measured myself off of more than anybody in my entire career. We're a day apart in age. We grew up doing the same type of racing. He raced a lot more than I did growing up, but we come from the exact same background. So, what he's been able to do on the NASCAR side is certainly kind of who I've modeled, my results off of. Judging off of somebody else that doesn't have the same background or me, it's just hard to do. But Christopher is as close as it gets to my background and age and everything, and even experience levels. So definitely somebody that I'll judge myself off of a lot, especially now that we're in the same car.
He said coming from nothing makes him want it more.
About himself, you're saying? Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. I think it's different whenever you had to earn and scrap your way here. You're willing to do a lot more because you don't want to lose that. Compared to some of the other guys that just, got here different ways. They don't feel like they appreciate it the same amount. There's a reason why I get emotional every, crown jewel or whatever. It's because, like, I appreciate the fact that I'm getting to do that, where I feel like other drivers probably don't do that as much. So, yeah, I definitely think it makes a difference when you have to earn your way here for sure.
There was conversation about how hard it would be for you to learn what's different at Joe Gibbs Racing. And you heard your teammate talking about that, right? And it's like, he really appreciates it, and he's just learning the new stuff over there. How hard is it to switch to a different operation, and how different is it, the culture?
It's a lot. I did not think it would be that different, truthfully. I figured it would be pretty simple to just switch, and yeah, I was definitely wrong. There's just so much more going on, the amount of data to look at. I was joking with James the other day. I was like 15 minutes late to this meeting that we had. And I texted him after. I said, sorry, I'm just not used to pre-event meetings. Like, we've never done those before in my career. So there's a lot different, just everything that's going on, and just, like I said, the resources, the data, the analytics. Like, there's just so much that, honestly, it's really opened my eyes up to just how vastly different it is. It's kind of crazy to think that's what we've raced against my entire Cup career. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to get going. I told Christopher, you don't realize how good you've had it your entire career, like just having all this at your disposal. So, yeah, it's definitely been very eye-opening for sure.
So is it great to have all that data, or is it mind-boggling and sometimes, like, you realize we didn't have all this before?
I mean, I think it can go both ways. I think you can read too much into it, but I also think it's a great way to kind of diagnose what's going on and, you know, just even see where you stack up, you know, just like from a competition standpoint, everything. Like, it's been way different. Like, I mean, we've only had one competition meeting, but just seeing, like, okay, this is where we actually stacked up on a speed standpoint other than just where we finished. Like, that's been something that I've never had before. So, yeah, it's definitely been really, really good. I think that you can definitely read too much into it, but that's with anything. Like, you can dive way too deep into it and get lost really, really quickly, but just taking what you know that's kind of worked, and, you know, that's a good thing for me coming into here. Like, JGR knows what works. Like, they know what data to look at, what data not to look at. So for me, it's very overwhelming right now, but it'll get a lot easier to where I can just say, hey, at the end of, you know, Sunday night, I can go look at this and read this and know, hey, this is kind of where we need to be better, and, you know, vice versa.
How about the transition of changing engine manufacturers?
Yeah, it's hard to say so far. You know, here you're just kind of running wide open. It's hard to really get a true read, especially not in the draft yet. And then Bowman Gray is so small, it's like hard to really tell anything. So I'm sure there's going to be differences. You know, every manufacturer kind of has their own little things that make them unique. So yeah, I'll definitely, I think, be able to have a better read, I would say, once we leave the West Coast swing. But yeah, there's going to be things different, and, you know, it's going to be, for me, I'll have to adjust to that. You know, especially being at one manufacturer for as long as I have. You know, there's going to be things that are way different that I'm just going to have to get used to. And I also think there's things that I can bring to the table, you know, just a different perspective of, hey, I think maybe we could try this different or whatever. So, yeah, it's just going to take a couple weeks. And then once we get a little more of a baseline, I think I'll be able to help a lot more.
This is Custom Patch Hats. But what makes us custom? Well, that actually begins with you. We're just bringing your unique vision to life. No knockoffs, no lookalikes. Your design is one of a kind. We know hats, we know design, and we know quality. The proof? It's in our production. Hand-stitched with precision and care, with brands you know and trust. A one-of-a-kind patch deserves a one-of-a-kind treatment, all the way to your doorstep. It's how we keep it custom.
I'm Caleb Barnes with Frontstretch.com. Come back soon for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.